Good day, everybody. It is Calxiyn here, and if you guys enjoyed this video, you should subscribe for more Attack on Titan videos. Today we are doing our reaction and discussion. If you guys don't know how these videos work, basically it is my reaction to the biggest moments, the coolest moments, all those great moments, and then afterwards I will take some screenshots and we'll have a little discussion about the episode. So if you guys are down for that, we can just get into it. But if you guys want to see my full reaction, it is up on Patreon and for YouTube membership members. So if you want to see my full reaction and sync it up, it has a timer, it has subtitles. You'll basically press play when I press play on those reactions that I put up for patrons. If you want to see my whole reaction, you guys can check that out. It is up on Patreon. It helps to support the channel, supports these videos as well, and so that would be greatly appreciated. But either way, let's just get into it. Let's go. Oh my god, this fight is gonna go down in history, okay? Oh my god, and he's still holding Gillard! Oh my god. Uh-oh, hello? Eren! Sir, why are you stopping? Oh boy. Oh damn. Oh, okay, so there's not gonna be a fight. Well, okay. I was expecting this giant fight, but he has already transformed 3 times, right? So like, how long has it been since he's seen Armin? Oh. Guys, I'm gonna cry, oh my god. Like, there's just something about this reunion between them. Guys. Oh, this is our first time seeing all 3 of them back together. Isn't that crazy? Whoa, whoa, who's saying that? Oh, it's Levi, yeah. Yeah, that's not out of character for Levi. Aw, Captain, he still calls him Captain. Eee, oh man, Levi's mad because I think Eren left them all, right? Yeah, Mikasa, relax. He needs to get his ass kicked, okay? He needs this one. You can't always protect him. Oh, look at all this. I'm so glad he survived again. Oh. Guys, they're special to him. Oh, I love it. He's just like a yandere, or not a yandere. What do you call it? A tsundere? Yeah, that guy's just floating in the wind. That guy's so dead. He's so dead. Yeah, Gabi's gonna get that guy. Oh no, her and Falco. Zeke was killed? I don't believe that. I think that makes my double agent theory even stronger. They wouldn't kill him just like that. See, but Falco's realizing that the hell that they're being put through now is the same hell that Eren... Yeah! Oh my god, he's saying the same thing! Guys, all my theory crafting, I feel like everything, all the discussions I've had up until this point, see it happen. Damn. So she's like, if I didn't see it, it wasn't there. But I'm like, if you guys inherited, you would know, right? If you inherited the memories, you would know. Oh, this poor guy. I'm like 100% sure she's gonna shoot him, get his gear, and go up there. Like, there's no reason for this guy to be hanging out by himself. Eee! Oh, I'm sorry, sir. See? And he wouldn't kill a kid either. Man, and see, because he can't fly anymore, she's just gonna hop in! Oh no, I knew it as soon as that guy was out by himself. God, but what's gonna happen to her? This is a suicide mission. Oh my god, and Falco's just like, I tried so hard to protect you. No, you're gonna, oh no. See, she's basically like, she's dizzy. I'm very dizzy. Hold on. Oh my god. I'm gonna shake my own brain too hard, guys. Okay. Miscalculations. Oh god. Yeah! Oh my god, I knew it, especially with all this stuff. I love their dialogue together. Holy shit. Holy shit. That's what I'm saying. So why are y'all working together? That's what I said last week. That was the only thing I couldn't figure out, is that Levi had a genuine last night for last. It's like, we'll have our rematch someday. Damn, I love that. That was the only thing I couldn't figure out, is why Levi, because Levi seemed to have genuine beef, right? Levi seemed to have genuine beef, so that's what I couldn't figure out. But he's saving the bite for last. Oh my god, I can't. I'm like so validated right now. No. Oh, Connie, no! Oh, the cousin! Oh, no, I knew she wasn't gonna make it, though. I knew that she wouldn't. I knew she wouldn't. If it's the potato thing, I'm literally gonna cry. Me. Till the very end, Sasha. It's just... Sasha. Oh, guys, please don't start infighting, please. We don't need that right now. So I just want to talk about Sasha quickly, because usually in our discussions, I start at the beginning. Like, I don't really talk about, like, the episode as a whole until we get to that scene. But I feel like some of you guys are probably gonna be like, oh, like, you know, Cal, like, you must be so happy, like, your Sasha theory and your Zeke theory, like, it's happening. All the time we spent analyzing, all the time we spent discussing, obviously, that all paid off. And so on one hand, right, that's like a big moment in of itself, that all of our discussions the past couple weeks have amounted to something, and I'll talk about that, but just the moment, like, I knew it was gonna happen. I knew it was going to happen just because of the foreshadowing that Gabi looked Sasha in the eye. Like, I knew it. All the signs were pointing to it, but does that mean that I'm okay? No, and usually I do these right away, but after this one, I just had to lie down for a bit. Like, I was actually, like, super dizzy after we finished recording and everything, and so yeah, I don't know what exactly I'm accomplishing with this opening bit. Like, I don't know, but it's taken a minute to set in that these characters that we've grown up with, if you've been watching the show from the beginning like me, and now suddenly one of them's gone and it doesn't even feel real. Like, it doesn't even feel real at all. And I feel like that, especially next week when we see those flashbacks, like, that's when it's really going to hit us. Like, seeing Sasha as she was, like, in this time skip, I'm assuming that's the flashbacks we're gonna see, and then knowing that she's gone, I feel like that is going to be the breaking point for people like me that are in shock. Like, I know people that are crying, but for me, I'm just like, I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't been able to take it all in. All that being said, though, let's talk about Reiner. This facial expression, I really liked this. I thought that it said a lot about him without him having to say anything. Like, that look and that determination, that now he has the will to live. He has gotten back up again for the kids. And that's why I also don't think that Reiner's done yet, and we'll get to that later. But when he hears that Falco and Gabi have been taken back to Paradise, I can see him being on the next boat out. Him, Gillard, Pick, I feel like that they're all going to go to Paradise, and that's going to be very interesting. Now, what I was really surprised by was the fact, I guess I shouldn't say surprised, like, I thought that we were going to get this whole fight scene, this whole big thing, but then after they sort of explained it, it wasn't, like, explained fully, but basically, Aaron has transformed, what, 3 times now. Like, he doesn't have it in him left, and he can't kill Reiner in his current state, in Aaron's current state of having already used up his transformation. So on one hand, like, logically, it makes sense. On the other hand, like, I really thought that we were gonna get, like, a fight, but I guess that's gonna have to wait until they meet next time, and I wouldn't be surprised if they meet next time on Paradise when Reiner is going after the kids. So yeah, it's one of those things like shocked but not surprised. Like, I was shocked that we didn't get it, but then after, when they sort of went into it, like, oh, I don't have enough strength to kill Reiner right now, I was like, yeah, that's fair, buddy. Like, I'm not mad about it. Like, I understand it. It makes a lot of sense. And I just think that it's crazy to see all of Mikasa's facial expressions, because it has cut to her like this multiple times, where she's just standing there and staring, and I really like that for her character, because I know some people may be like, she's just standing there, right? But she's not just standing there. Like, the fact that she is looking at this with that facial expression says a lot about how she feels about this, says a lot about her character, and we'll get more into that later, because there was an interesting scene between Armin and Mikasa, which I feel like was almost like a silent, it was such a good silent scene, but it was a silent communication between them of, no, Eren needs to get beat up on this one, right? And so I feel like that's what it meant, and it was such a good scene where looks just explained everything. And in this case, I feel like that she has just resigned herself to what Eren is doing, and all she can do is helplessly look on. In terms of this scene, I think that it could be two things. Like, one, Eren is running out of Titan juice and he's feeling it, like he's realizing that he can't do this anymore. But two, I think it's the fact that Reiner grabbed Gillard back, right? Because I didn't even see him do that, and so I think that that's what Eren's surprised for, is that Reiner had an opening to attack, but instead of attacking, the higher priority for him was getting back Gillard. And I think that that plays into the kids, right? Because the kids said, Reiner, like, Gillard's gonna get eaten, do something. And so he was, again, acting like for the kids, acting for them. And I feel like that surprises Eren, considering Reiner's previous behavior. At the same time, it may not even be a friendship thing. It's like, I can't let Gillard get eaten, obviously, right? Like, we don't want Eren to have another Titan. So I feel like that as much as it was for the kids, it's also the most strategical thing to do as well. So I don't know. I don't know which one it is. It could be both, right? He did it for the kids. He decided to put his revenge on Eren aside in order to do the strategical thing, which would be to get back Gillard, for both the friendship aspect, right, for the kids, but also for the military strategy aspect of, hey, we can't lose any more Titans today. And just this expression, like, still this expression, even though, like, Reiner's jaw is gone, like, it's just so crazy. And it's funny because Reiner looks more like Reiner in these scenes, if that makes sense. Like, obviously the Titans look a lot like them, but it almost is humanizing in a way for him to not have as much armor as I personally remember. Some of you guys last week said that he's not fully armored or something, and so, like, I believe you if you guys said it, sure. And so I'm assuming that, like, that almost makes him look like more human in this scene. I don't know, there's just something about that gaze, that piercing gaze, that I really, really like. But he's like, yeah, I can't kill Reiner, so let's skedaddle out of here. And I love that he's just like, see you later, Reiner, and then he just leaves. Like, I just love that was so funny. But yeah, I see the rematch. I see the rematch in my head. Reiner is going to find out that Gabi and Falco have been taken. They're gonna think that they've been, like, taken as hostages or something, and then Reiner's gonna go back for them, even if it's not the most strategical thing to do, because it's like, what do you care about Falco and Gabi? They're just candidates. Well, first of all, they're the only two candidates left. And second of all, I feel like that even if the military doesn't prioritize that, Reiner will act of his own accord. But given that the commander seems to genuinely care about the kids, like, we had that whole, like, Falco, are you hurt? Are you okay? We talked about that last week. Considering that, I feel like that they could do the whole rescue operation, even if it's not the most military sound thing to do. So let's talk about this scene between Armin and Eren, because it's another one of those scenes where there's not a lot of talking, but the facial expression says a lot, because Armin is looking at him, and there's sort of this vibe in the air of, like, what the fuck, Eren? Like, really? Right? Because it seems like that he left without telling anyone to some extent. Obviously, he wrote the letters, but he willingly went over there, abandoned everyone on Paradise, and people on Paradise were just like, I guess we gotta save him. Like, what choice do we have? And so I feel like Armin's just like, welcome back, you motherfucker. Like, that's the facial expression I'm getting. I feel like there's also a mix of, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed in that face. Like, there's just a lot in between these looks that they share together, and Eren's just looking at him like, But even after all that, even with the I'm not mad, I'm disappointed face, Armin still extends his arm to Eren, because at the end of the day, they've been through so much together. So ultimately, like, can you completely cut yourself off from him in that way? Like, you still care about him. He's still basically like your brother, right? They've been together for so long. He's your best friend. And so ultimately, you will help him up. It's a lot of symbolic stuff going on right here. I think that Mikasa can't even look at Armin because she can't stand to see the I'm not mad, I'm disappointed facial expression. At least I think that's what's happening here. I think that she, to some extent, is sort of ashamed that she is complicit in Eren's actions. But let me know what you guys think about it. And again, focusing on the hand, at the end of the day, even after everything Eren has done, I feel like Mikasa and Armin, like, they're his ride or dies, basically. So during my reaction, I was just like, oh my god, is Armin talking to him like that? And then I realized it's Levi. And I'm just like, yeah, not really out of character for Levi. And I think it's super interesting that Eren still calls Levi captain, and I think it's also interesting because later they talk about, like, we don't need the garrison anymore, right? Like, the commander is saying that, or I guess he doesn't want to be called the commander anymore. And so it's interesting to see who have abandoned that and then who have not abandoned that. And I feel like that Levi is very much still in that mindset of who he was back in Parodies. Whereas the guy that gets killed by Gabi, he's like, fuck all that shit. Like, we don't need that anymore. But I feel like that, I mean, some people are wearing the Wings of Freedom on their new gear, but I feel like that they sort of consider this as a new order, except for some of the people inside it. I mean, even Jean says later something like, this wouldn't have happened if you didn't get the scouts involved in this, and so he still considers them the scouts. I feel like that's why Jean upholds the rank when talking to the commander in that scene. So that's a pretty interesting idea. But I love how Levi just kicks the shit out of him, and Mikasa goes to, like, I will rip your head off, right? But they share this look, and I feel like that this said so much by not saying anything at all. You see how Mikasa looks at Armin looks at her with this, like, oh, it's just, I can't even explain it. There's no way to put it into words. That's why there are none. You can just tell by the look. And Mikasa sees that and she looks away. She's like, yeah, I know. It's almost like that. Like, Armin is basically saying with his eyes, like, you gotta let Eren take this one. And Mikasa's like, yeah. And I love this. I just love Levi's dialogue. I miss Levi's dialogue. And Levi's dialogue with Zeke later, oh my god, totally on point, and I'm so happy. But after you're all tied up, and I was just like, sir, like, do you really need to tie him up? But we have to remember is that Eren gave them letters and basically was like, hey, I'm gonna do this. If you're in, you're in. If you're out, see ya, I guess, right? And so they have some reason not to trust him, even though everything did go well. Like, I feel like that a lot of people are probably gonna complain about, you know, Jean and Hange's perspective of, like, oh, you lost 8 people, but they took out, like, all of these, you know, dignitaries, all of these reporters, the entire harbor, like, a good chunk of the military. Like, was that worth the 8? But at the same time, like, how can you quantify the lives of those 8 individuals when they were people that you were so connected to and you had spent so much time with, right? And so on one hand, I feel like a lot of people are gonna be mad at Jean and Hange because, like, in theory, right, like, it was a win. Like, those 8 casualties were worth everything that they did, in theory, right? But in practice, the emotional side of that, it's like, we all grew up together for the past 4 years. Like, how could you sacrifice those 4 people who were 4 individuals or friends to you? So yeah, I understand it. Like, I feel like that what people don't get, I mean, most people get it. You guys get it if you're watching this video, I'm pretty sure. But what people aren't understanding is that there is no good side, bad side, okay? And we see that with Gabi. I know that, like, we'll talk about this, but I know it's a meme like, oh, all my homies hate Gabi. I get it. But the entire point that the show is trying to make is that there is no good side and there is no bad side. There are only broken people who have continued the cycle of revenge because of how they have been hurt and how they have been ripped away from their families and how they've seen their loved ones die, right? Like, especially with Gabi, Reiner turned Eren in to the monster that Eren is today, and now Eren is turning Gabi into the monster that she could be, right? Like, I feel like Gabi could still be saved and could still be redeemed, but we have to keep in mind that that is a part of it. And also, like, Falco basically brings in the balanced, nuanced perspective. At this point, they're basically spoon-feeding it to you. Like, if you don't get it or you don't agree, I don't know what to tell you, right? I know, again, you guys watching this video, I know that you understand, right? Because why would you spend time watching a 1-hour analysis if you weren't critically thinking about the show? But, like, to those other people, right? Algo is basically explaining to you the themes of this show. If you don't get it at this point, I don't know what to say. And I love this because Aaron's like, did you not understand it? Like, he's like, are you stupid, Levi? And Levi's just like, oh, that look on his face. It reminds him of the people from the underground. And I think that this is a reference to Kenny and the other people. And so that's sort of interesting that all of that has been brought back given Levi's history with Kenny. And so again, in this scene, I told you I'm a recruit. Nobody needs the garrison anymore. But I feel like Jean and Levi, they feel like that they need the garrison. So this is where the heartbreak starts, especially in hindsight. Like, as you're looking at Sasha and Connie pulling up Jean, it's just crazy. And it's just crazy to see, like, this scene play out. But let's talk about this guy first. I think this guy's name is Floch. Apparently people hate Floch, but listen, okay? Floch isn't entirely wrong. Like, he's bringing in a pretty, like, interesting perspective. Like, he's right. Like, I get it. The 8 people died. They were friends with that 8 people, or I guess 6, right? Because then Sasha and the commander, or I guess not the commander, right? Like, they're the next 2 that are added on to that tally at the end of this episode. But at the same time, like, he's right. Like, think about all the damage they did. A lot of civilians died too, but in terms of like the damage that they did to Marley's military versus their military, right? Like, they lost 8 people, and think about everything that they get. Like, the Warhammer Titan died, right? Aaron has that power now. The entire port, a good chunk of the military that was like hanging out right around that area, like, they're all probably dead. And so, like, that's in like the thousands, right, compared to that 8. And it's hard because, again, the logical, like, side, I guess, is like, oh, well, the ratio, the numbers, the percentages, but the emotional side to them is that I think the thing about the Scouts in particular is that we have to keep in mind that even though Paradise is a big place, right, they all know each other. Like, it's basically like high school, right? Even if they're in different groups, they see each other all the time, they pass each other in the halls, like, they become friends. And so I feel like that we have to keep in mind the size. Like, the size of Marley's military is probably like a university. You know some people, but most of the people you won't even talk to or you won't even run into, right? Like, you can't really comprehend all of that. But with them, it's different because it's that close-knitness of, oh, well, there's 300 of us or even 400 of us. Like, we all know each other. We all know each other in passing. And so I feel like that's why it's so much more meaningful, and we have to keep that in mind. We already see Jean starting to snap, right? He has the same sort of line of dialogue when he's talking about throwing the kids out of the airship, and I feel like this is gonna be a very interesting storyline for him. Yeah, so this scene hits different, and I'm like, oh, Connie, you were too naive, you were too quick to celebrate. I mean, everyone was. Like, even in a later scene, Sasha hears a noise and everyone just sort of ignores it, like nobody goes to check it out. And it's painful. It's not very fair to the others, but you guys are special. And it makes sense, right? Because again, it's that, like, their friend group. Like, they have always been with each other. Because I'm assuming that Floch, I don't know if I've seen him before, but I'm assuming that some of these people, they got involved in the 4-year time skip. That basically everybody was like, hey, hello, people of Paradise. If anyone would like to become a recruit and get, like, over there so we can fight for our lives and stuff, like, so we can fight for our right to continue to live against the whole world, like, come with us. And so I'm sure that there are a lot of new people there, and so what Connie is saying is like you guys are the OGs, you'll always be special to me. And Sasha also touches his hand. I don't know if I caught that, and it's brutal. Like, it's brutal. I'm getting dizzy again. Like, I actually, like, that's how brutal it is. And I think that this shot is really telling as well, because you see Gabi crying, and I feel like that's so meaningful because she seems so, like, angry, right? Like, she seems so, like, even like a badass, right? Like, her running and saying that she's gonna kill Aaron, I thought that was pretty badass. But we see that there is a break in that mask that she's been putting on of, I'm gonna kill every last one of them, like, very similar to Aaron, right? And we see that mask break. Like, she is just full of tears and full of grief, and she doesn't know how to process that. Falco didn't really know what happened to Udo and Sophia, and so I think that to see Gabi explain it in depth, I feel like that was super important, because you can see Falco, like, he's sweating, right? Like, he's thinking about that, of Udo being trampled and Sophia being crushed, and he's thinking about it. And now let's talk about the gate guards, and this is one of the points where I was super happy, because this was one of the things that I analyzed that I felt very much paid off. And basically my analysis was like, hey, those two guard guys, they were nice to her. They were sort of teasing with them, like, oh, you know, like, Gabi likes Falco, it's so obvious in that scene. And then they protected her, and they were nice to her. Even though that they were Marleyan, they just saw her as an innocent child, and they tried to protect her. And that came in right here. And so I feel like that they almost made the most impact on her. Not to say, I feel like that Udo and Sophia, because they were friends, they do to some extent, but they make a big impact on Gabi, these two guards, because they were Marleyan, and because that plays into her wants and desires that she has had since she was introduced in episode 1. See, we even see what she says here. I'm an Eldian, but they told me to turn back because it's dangerous. And then they say that being an Eldian, born in the zone, people spit at me when I go outside. I've had a lot of miserable memories, but that's why I try so hard. And I feel like that this is all interconnected, right? Those guards, they were nice to me. They tried to protect me. They tried to help me. And so for them to protect her, I feel like that left a big impact on her, because she is usually spat at by those same Marleyans, except in this case, the guards were that, like, changing point. So even though I feel like her friends are important, the guards dying, I feel like, plays into her whole motivation to show the world that Eldians are good people, right? Those guards, they didn't recognize her as a devil. They treated her as if she was a good person, as if she was a good kid. So yeah, I'm super happy with the guard scene. That was one of the things that I analyzed, so I'm super happy about the payoff. So when she said when Zeke was killed before our eyes and we could do nothing, like, that's when I knew. That's when I knew for sure Zeke was alive, and I'm gonna tell you why. It's because they would not kill him that unceremoniously, okay? And then have a character actually believe that he was dead, if that makes sense. Like, it was almost trying to, like, really drive home the fact that they thought he was dead. Like, just something about that line really made me think that. But do you guys understand what I'm saying? Like, something about that line, I was like, yep, he's alive. He's alive when Zeke was killed before our eyes. I guess it's more the unceremonious death and the fact that she truly believed that he's dead. I'm like, no, he's not dead. He's not dead. I didn't think he was dead last week. I didn't think he was dead this week. And I can't believe that my double agent theory actually all came together. And I'm so excited to talk about it. But let's contain ourselves. Let's focus on the here and now. So I feel like that these scenes with Falco were very important, because they drive home the thing that we have been saying, again, for the past 8 weeks. I can't believe it's been 8 weeks, guys, by the way. But what we've been saying for the past 8 weeks, and the Reiner, I'm the same as you. Like, it's all to drive home the fact, like, I love how Falco says they were trampled on, and then Gabi's like, what? And then he says, the enemy was attacked by Marley warriors and lots of people died. This is revenge. And then I love her response, because it just says so much, again, without saying a lot. Like, did you see it happen? And he's like, no. And she's like, neither did I. And so I feel like that's such a propaganda thing, right? Like, if you didn't see it, you didn't happen. And it plays into the narrative as a whole that she only believes what Marley tells them, and none of the other warriors would admit that. None of the other warriors would say that. But I think that at the same time, based on Gabi's facial expression, I think that she knows that it's true. I think that she knows that it's true, but she doesn't want to believe it. And the reason why is, I think, her conversation with Reiner, that she can tell that something's off about Reiner, that Reiner's mom is worried about him, like that conversation. So I feel like that Gabi knows it, but she's so determined to hold on to their evil, their devils, like, it didn't happen. Like, did you see it happen? I didn't, because she wants to execute her revenge so bad, and she cannot conceptualize them being good people, or else she will feel guilt. She will not feel guilt if she thinks that they are bad people, and so it's more like protection for her mind. It's more valuable to Gabi to keep up this facade of them being these devils. It's better for her, because she's like, you know, if I keep believing this, I don't need to feel any guilt. Whereas if I acknowledge them as individuals who have suffered the same as I have suffered, that we made them suffer that way, my brain won't be able to handle it. It's almost like her way of coping. If she doesn't believe that it happened, she has a justified excuse, but her reasoning may not be as justified if what Falco is saying is true, because it's more complicated than that, and Falco is hitting the nail on the head. I feel like that's actually why Aaron wanted him to stay there. Like, I feel like that, first of all, Falco could run off and tell someone, so that's like, right? But at the same time, I feel like that another layer of that motivation was getting Falco to understand so he could possibly turn in the future. Like, I feel like that was also a strategical choice. Because Gabi says, they're nothing like us. And then Falco sees Reiner, I'm the same as you. And so that's, again, Falco realizing that all of this is the same. And really, the real enemy are the oppressors. Like, the real enemy is the people that they oppress them. And if the Eldians can work with the Paradise Eldians, they could fight back against those oppressors in an ideal world. And so see, Aaron looked at Falco and said that. So I feel like he wanted Falco to know. Yeah, so as soon as this guy stayed, outside alone, I was like, yeah, I know where this is going. And it's very interesting that what keeps getting everybody killed is the fact that they show mercy. Think about it, right? He doesn't shoot because he sees her as a kid. And I feel like that was Sasha's attitude earlier. She killed the 2 guards, but she didn't kill her because they were supposed to minimalize civilian casualties. And then again in the airship with them not killing Gabi, right? Like, everyone is dying because they show mercy. It's like a kid, and this also is a parallel to the very first episode where you have those 2 gunmen that are like, oh, it's just a kid, it's just a girl, she's limping, she could be hurt, and they were just like, she could be an Eldian, shoot her, and then they don't shoot her, right? Like, the mercy of that is what keeps getting everybody killed in these scenarios. And I think that what's really telling is that Gabi resigned herself to this. She knew that if she went up there, there was the high possibility, like, basically a guarantee, almost, right? The only reason that she and him are not dead is because of Jean, right? And possibly Zeke later on. But the thing is that she resigned herself to death. She was like, if I can just kill one of them, if I can just get my revenge, I will die happy, and I know that you guys will carry on my will. And I feel like that's so, like, metal of her. And then Colt is running after them, and I'm just like, ugh, like, this was just such a crazy scene. And I was like, oh my god, is Falco gonna go with her? I mean, you guys would have seen that. I would have included that at the beginning of the reaction. But it's crazy how she says goodbye to Falco, and then she said, you were one of the good ones. And so I'm not necessarily sure what's that in context towards. I think it was more so like Falco always had a good heart. Like, we see him save that guy that fell on enemy lines, like, even though he was the enemy. Does that make sense? Like, that guy at the very beginning of the show basically, like, kind of fell in their trench, and he was just like, hey, the rules of war, like, you know, let's, like, patch him up and everything. And so I feel like that's what she's referring to, is that even though, like, I don't think that she means that Gillard and Peck are bad or anything, but that Falco was, like, the purest of heart compared to anyone else that she had known. I love this because as soon as this is said, you know he's gonna do it, and he's crazy, and I just love it so much. And then this guy, like, I feel like that what's gonna happen is that because Colt saw all this, like, this is a narrative reason for Colt to be here. Colt was put here, like, by the writers to make sure that somebody witnessed this, so Colt could go back and be like Falco and Gabi, like, went into the blimp, we have to go save them, and then Reiner's like, yes, and Peck's like, yes, and Gillard's like, yeah, if it wasn't for them, Reiner wouldn't have saved me, and I'd be dead, right? And so you have that idea, and I feel like that is where the show is going. That's my new theory, now that my Zeke theory and my Sasha theory are kind of, like, over. And I love this, that he repeats this again, is that is weird to say in this context, but that is his way of saying that he wants to protect her, right? And so even though it seems like, why is he bringing that up now, right? He's bringing it up because that is his way of saying, that is his way of expressing that he loves Gabi and he doesn't want to see any harm come to her. And see, Sasha hears the noise, and I was actually talking in my Discord server, and someone said that this actually happened another time where Sasha heard something and then she just sort of ignored it, and it's, I guess that, like, that could be a reference to that scene, if that makes sense, like this same thing happening again. It's sort of a flaw with her that they didn't go and check it out. I don't know if that's true though, don't quote me on that, my Discord said that, don't look at me, but yeah, I thought that was sort of interesting. And it's crazy because the expression in Gabi's eyes and just how, like, everyone turns around and Sasha's just, like, right there, and it's almost like she doesn't fully realize what has happened yet. Like, she's more surprised, she's more like, oh, like, she's more looking down at herself like that, but then they all realize. And I feel like that Gabi is really feeling the gravity right here. First of all, hitting, right? Like, I feel like that she was surprised the first time it happened, but now I feel like that she is also feeling the gravity of taking someone else's life up close. And I feel like that she's also connecting with their facial expression, right? Because the commander died and he just died, right? But I guess it's hard to explain, but you know how they say that funerals are for the living, that funerals are for your loved ones to grieve, they aren't really for you because you're already dead? I feel like that same sort of sentiment can be found in the facial expressions of Connie and Jean, that it's not even that Sasha is dead that is affecting her, it is the reaction of those that truly cared about her that is connecting with Gabi, maybe in this moment, even though she puts up a good fight against them later and calls them all devils and everything like that. I feel like that there was a moment there for her, even if fleeting, that will play into her character later. So what's crazy is that Jean, even though he's like, hey, I don't want to kill these kids, like, even though he says that after he's cooled down for a second, because he did try to shoot them. And so again, we have that idea of emotional versus logic, right? That even though that he has this like moral code of like, we're not gonna throw some kids outside of an airship, right? Like, in this moment, in the heat of the moment, he was ready to kill them. He would have killed her. And I feel like that's important for him and Hange and Aaron's conversation later, because it's like, you may talk all high and mighty about war and everything that Aaron has done and those scouts dying and everything that has happened because of Aaron, but at the same time, do you really have that high ground to stand on when you were just as ready to kill a kid just now? I'm sorry if that doesn't perfectly make sense, but I think that you guys probably understand what I'm saying. And these guys, there's no hesitation from them, right? And I don't want to show them getting beat up too much, but I feel like that even Floch, right? Like, I feel like, again, everyone hates Floch. It's a meme. I get it. But at the same time, like, he is genuinely enraged by this as much as Jean, even though I don't think he was with the original regiment. I don't remember him. Again, I'm very sorry. I'm sorry if he was, but I don't remember him at all. And so, like, his connection with Sasha wasn't to the same extent. I feel like that's at least fair to say, wasn't to the same extent as Connie and Jean and Mikasa and Armin. And so I just feel like that that's very telling as well, that even though this guy's a kind of a dipshit, like, I guess people hate him, I don't hate him that much, to be honest. Like, he still, like, feels. This scene is so crazy because, again, in the end, Sasha is talking about food, and I don't know, like, at first, you may think it seems out of place in this really emotional scene, but it really isn't. Like, it just is the distilled feeling of Sasha's character and why we have grown to love her. And I feel like that's why they included these lines, because it reminds us why we loved her so much in the first place. It brings back all those memories, like the meat scene, like we talked about. And so I feel like that now that Jean has seen them, he's realizing that they're children. That could be the other reason for shooting at her at first, is that he didn't think, he just shot. He didn't even look to see who it was or if they were a kid or whatever, right? He didn't get that good of a look at her. Like, he shot, Falco pushed her, like, it was sort of like, like, you know what I mean? Like, he probably didn't see that well, but then he sees them and he sees that they're just kids. And listen, I know that Floch is just like, I'll toss them outside, and that seems very callous, but at the same time, he needs to be an asshole here for Jean's character development, right? Is that he looks at Gabi, he looks at Falco, and he looks at Sasha, and I feel like that he just feels the pain of all of these situations, because he says, if we toss kids out of an airship, will the killing ever end? And I feel like that that's just a reference, again, to that continuous cycle. Like, yes, they killed Sasha, but if you kill these two, right, that gives Marley even more of a reason to fight back and vilify you, but at the same time he's conflicted because they literally just killed one of his best friends. So Peck remembers something interesting, and I don't think that we were supposed to know this, but it's very interesting that she remembers this. I remember seeing that same soldier 3 years ago, and I think that this is the same guy that's piloting the airship. I could be wrong, but I thought that it was kind of cool that she remembered this, right? Because now we see, oh, the bowl cut person was on the fleet, and then she says, yes, I'm sure of it. They looked so awful with a beard, right? And so they were trying to pretend to be a guy, I guess, but this is one of Zeke's devout followers, and I'm assuming that they're a girl. And at first, I was so confused. I was like, Historia? Like, what? I was so lost. But then she says, oh, that's a devout follower of Zeke. And that's when you should realize as an audience member that Zeke has been playing some double agent games. And you guys won't be surprised if you've been watching this channel, because I have basically been pointing out everything that Zeke has ever done that is suspicious. Like, not in this room, the baseball glove, the fact that, like, he just died so unceremoniously, Levi being like, oh, checking the time, and then him saying, you're out of time, the fact that he waited until Gillard and then Peck were distracted. Like, I laid it out. So if you guys didn't watch it, I would suggest you guys go back and watch my last couple of discussions, because, oh man, like, everything just came together, and it's so satisfying as a viewer who pays attention to be like, basically have that payoff by the writers, and the writers reward you in this way. But yeah, Gabi's just going feral here, but I feel like at the same time that she's super terrified, right? And I love this because it's almost comedic in a way. This little kid is looking up like this and yelling at Jean. Like, I feel like that it's almost kind of funny, even though this is a very serious scene. Like, I feel like that if Gabi and Falco get redeemed, this is gonna be one of those things where it's like, and I don't want to say redeemed because I don't think Falco has done anything like that, but if they defect, I guess that's the word I've been using. I had this theory at the very beginning of the show that Falco would defect and join Aaron, and I had that sort of theory that he would eventually be opposed against Gabi, and then I dropped that theory because it didn't seem like that was gonna happen after everything Falco has seen. But now that both of them are there, I wonder if they will, especially with Zeke there as well, so maybe we'll even get a little bit of that out of Gabi. I'm not sure. But I feel like that even though Gabi killed Sasha, this will be one of the moments that we look back on like, oh yeah, remember when Gabi was like an annoying little kid yelling at Jean, and now she's like good? I guess. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that very well. And it's crazy when Falco and Gabi see Zeke. Oh my god, and then, right, they see it, and then we get that information. It's someone I had a particular interest in because she's a devout follower of Zeke, and so now even they're putting it all together. So I wonder if that's gonna be a big thing. I wonder if the commander will actually align himself with Zeke eventually. Like, I feel like that now they're probably knowing that he's a traitor. I feel like that they probably know that, and so at this point it would be interesting if everyone defects. If the commander and Peck and Gillard decide, if Zeke did this, there must have been a good reason, let's go get him, and maybe they'll even end up joining their side. Maybe that's too naive, but do you guys understand what I'm saying? Like, the commander seemed to some extent, like, value Zeke. They all did, right? Like, War Chief Zeke, right? Like, in his memory, he was a very important person, and so I feel like that it could be possible, given the fact that the commander is now, like, that's the other thing. Didn't Willie say that by doing this, the commander would get rid of all the people that he didn't like and that he could be in charge? And so what if him being in charge means that he decides to play into Zeke's double agentness, say, we're gonna go back to Paradise to recover Zeke, to recover Gabi, to recover Falco, and then really they end up joining him. I feel like that would be an interesting angle, because on the outside, the commander is masking this as, we need to recover our cadets, we need to recover our Beast Titan, they've been kidnapped, and that's what they tell to the public. But maybe to Porco and Gillard, they say, like, listen, okay, if Zeke did this, there must be a reason for all this. Why don't we set up this ruse, set up this fake operation plan, and then we go investigate? And then we see Zeke, and what I love is that he makes eye contact with the kids, and then you don't see his eyes anymore. And that's, again, a very, like, anime thing of not seeing the sketchy person's eyes. And that's another reason why I thought Zeke was sketchy, because he did that a couple times, and I was like, Arr. So yeah, I love this scene, because he's like, why are you guys here? And they're like, oh, why are you? You're alive. Why did you let them capture you? And then that's when the glasses go blank. Like, he can't even bear to look at them. And look at her. She's looking down at him like, yeah, you lied to those fucking kids, didn't you? Like, just the look on his face. I feel like he genuinely feels bad about this, though. I don't think that he has the same relationship with them as Reiner, but I still think he feels bad. And then Levi's like, who are these kids? And then they explain complain about Sasha, and it's crazy, right? And like, the look on Gabi's face here is very interesting, right? Because I feel like that maybe she's still processing it, but I feel like, again, the gravity of her shooting Sasha is finally setting in, and her killing a person with a name, not just this like nameless individual, but someone that they all care for deeply. Like, I feel like that part is setting in, right? And look at Levi's face, like he's shocked, and then you see how Armin and Mikasa react. Like, I thought that they would react that way, but to see them and how they're crying later, like, I don't know, like, that completely shocked me. And I don't know why, like, I knew that they were good friends with them, but just to see them in that state, like, I can't even remember a time when they were like that recently. And it's a contrast to how Connie feels. Like, Connie is just in shock. He lets a single tear out of his face, but they both are sobbing, and it's just so heartbreaking. I love how Aaron's just like, we meet again, Falco. He's not looking at any of them. But yeah, and then Hange comes in. And so I didn't notice, but Hange is actually like wearing an eye patch or something like that, and I think that that's really cool. And then they say, did everything play out as you hoped, Zeke? And I'm just like, right, because, like, I guess they didn't know that he was Zeke Yeager, right? I don't think they knew that. Like, I don't think that they knew that Aaron and Zeke had any sort of connection. I can't remember. Like, obviously the military did, because they knew that he turned in his parents, but I don't think that the general world did, or else they'd be like, hey, why is the leader of your military also a Yeager? Like, isn't that concerning? Not the leader of the military, but, like, the leader of the Titan unit. And then they realized, I realized you don't see his eyes for the most part, but there were a few miscalculations. And then I love how after that he's like, who are these kids again? The miscalculations. Like, I feel like that was such a great line. But then they also talk about what happened to Peck and Porco and how that was a miscalculation as well. And so look at their faces. It just, oh man, this scene was so good, because they're like, opinion of him has shattered. He was so high up and so well respected. Like, if Reiner is like their big older brother or even like a father figure to them, I feel like that Zeke was like almost like a representation of what a fully realized Titan could be, something to strive for, a mentor, a father figure, all of that type of stuff. And so see, she has the same thing. She's like, who are the kids? The miscalculations, right? And so I feel like, oh, that was just so good. That was just so good. But I love how they're realizing all of this, and then we finally see his eyes, and he seems almost sorry. Like, he seems almost sorry that they've gotten involved in this. I love their dialogue together. It is so fucking funny. Like, I just love this. Like, what did you say, Hairball? Don't glare at me like that, Levi. What if I piss my pants? I can't wait to hear the English voice actors for this, because Zeke's English voice actor is Crow Branwyn, and I know how he can turn it on, like how Crow can turn on that sarcasm, right? See, and this was my thing. For all my Zeke theorizing, what I couldn't figure out is why Levi would go along with all this, because I said that, oh, Levi seems like he genuinely has a grudge against him, though, and that's what kind of made me a little bit unsure. But Levi's explanation makes a lot of sense, and I feel like that this will be covered in the flashback. Like, I feel like next week we're getting like the whole down low on Zeke being the double agent, but I love that. I'm the kind of person who saves the best bite for last. I like to savor the taste, right? And so I feel like that was epic, right? Because that explains everything so succinctly. Like, it was such a simple reason that I didn't even think of. Yeah, and so, like, listen, they're not wrong. Like, her and Jean aren't wrong, but at the same time, like, everything that they accomplished is also because of Aaron, and so I feel like that this is more of their emotional side. And when I say emotional side, guys, I'm not trying to minimize that. Like, there's nothing wrong with being emotional, because their feelings are valid. It's just about working through those feelings and Aaron working back their trust, because he's gonna need them ultimately. And so I'm not that type of person that are like, oh, your feelings don't matter, use your logic. Like, I feel like that's such a condescending and then almost sometimes like misogynistic. Not to get into all that, but like, I see that a lot when girls like cry at video games. Like, there was this tweet that went around, like, it was this viral tweet, and it was this girl and she was crying because of a scene in The Last of Us, in the first game. And if you have played The Last of Us, you'll probably like remember the climax of the game and what scene that probably is, and she's crying. And so many people like responded to her about about like, oh, well, girls are so emotional, and I'm just like, no, like we're engaging with the story. You should cry too, right? And so I feel that, and I feel like with Attack on Titan, that's not as big of a problem because I feel like that the people that are crying, they're crying, right? I feel like that the people that are invested in this show, they are also crying, and so I don't feel it as much with this. But at the same time, I'm using that to sort of illustrate that I'm not trying to say like, oh, the feelings don't matter, use your brain, use your logic, because the feelings will interfere with their plans anyway. And so eventually you need to patch those feelings up. Those feelings need to be respected, they need to be talked through, and through that, the plan can continue going on as it is, because Eren does need them. And again, Zeke makes a good argument. You have a Titan with royal blood, you have the founding Titan, the cost of those sacrifices will be paid through Eldia's freedom. And so this gives us a hint in Zeke's motivation. And this is what I thought, right? Like, I had the theory that turning in his father was a whole plan from the start, or maybe he switched midway. Like, I don't know, like maybe in the flashback he'll be like, no, he actually was brainwashed as a child, but he switched like during the flashback for some reason. But I don't think so. I think that the entire time this was some big long con, and I feel like that now we're seeing that, right? That he was always on the side of the Eldia restorationalists, or whatever they're called, right? And so I feel like that they are fighting for like Eldia, and I think they even said like new Eldia, like when the troops were talking in the other room. And so we get a big hint of that already, that Zeke was never loyal to Marley. He was just a spy on the inside, and he is loyal to Eldia. And this scene with Connie is very heartbreaking, and it's a single tear for me. Like, to see his single tear, and then to see Armin and Mikasa crying their eyes out, especially Mikasa. Like, I feel like that this was just crazy, and I feel like that to some extent they aren't going to forgive Eren for this, even though it's not really his fault. But Jean says like this wouldn't have happened if you didn't drag the scouts into this, right? So I feel like that Mikasa and Armin, they are going to have a hard time forgiving this and a hard time coping with this, because I feel like up till now the people that Mikasa have watched died. Like, it's been hard for her. Like, I feel like seeing the woman like Warhammer Titan and then seeing like the other people die, like I feel like to some extent she was feeling things for that. Like, she was, I think, ashamed more so than anything. Like, she just sat there and she watched, and she had this very stoic expression on her face. So to now see her go absolutely feral with grief, I feel like that's going to be very effective in Mikasa's character, because all the other people that she's seen die, really, they're strangers to her. They didn't matter. And so it's easier for you to justify it in your head, right? Like, oh, like, yes, Eren's killing the Warhammer Titan, but that's a necessary sacrifice. I feel like for them, it's going to be a hard pill to swallow, and especially because Sasha wasn't a necessary sacrifice. And just look at Armin. Like, Armin even has had this, like, I don't know how to even explain it, this dead look in his eye when he's going through the harbor last episode, or he's going through the city, and he's just looking, and he's just like, is this what you saw, Bertold, right? Like, he doesn't even cry for that. But then to see Sasha, it almost, like, Sasha almost represents everything. Like, all the people that they have killed, all the people that they just watched died. If it didn't affect them before, Sasha's death is almost the trigger that makes them, like, let all of these feelings that they have been feeling the entire time out. And I think that Eren has a very compelling reaction, because some people were thinking probably, or at least I kind of thought, that he would just be cold and like stone-faced, and that he wouldn't show any emotion at all. But that's like the stereotypical reaction of a character like Eren. They actually subverted it in how he reacted here. He's almost laughing at first. Like, he's like, of course she said meat. And then they remember, and just to see them when they were kids, when they were just so small. And is that Reiner and Bertolt in the background too? That may be an interesting touch. I'm like, is it? I'm pretty sure. Like, that kind of looks like Reiner and Bertolt, right? I mean, I guess like the blondes in this show sometimes look the same. I guess it could be someone else. And Reiner does tell the story of her stealing the meat, doesn't she? I mean, also the potato, but yeah, so just to see this, like, to go back to this scene and see how young they were, and to see we can just raise more cattle and sheep once we retake our land. Like, that was her essence and her dreams, and now, like, she sacrificed herself for that. But yeah, you see Eren, he is angry, and I don't think a lot of people expected that reaction from him. I think a lot of people expected that, like, stoic, like, I don't give a shit, right? And so, like, Gene is putting a lot of blame on him, right? Like, with everything that they gained, but I think that Aaron actually agrees with him in this moment. I think that he actually does feel that he is now not the stoic, like, I'm gonna do what's necessary Aaron that we saw talk to Reiner. In this specific scene, he is reverting to that childhood Aaron. And seeing Mikasa at the grave, like, I feel like that this is gonna be such a turning point for her. Because again, seeing all those other people die, it's like, the Warhammer Titan lady, she was just kind of like looking away, I do not see it. Like, she looked away from Aaron's brutality, but now there is no choice but to look. And then we're gonna see scenes in this flashback with Sasha and with Connie and with this guy. I don't know who this is supposed to be. I'm so sorry, guys. But I really like the dialogue here. Unable to change the past, they must continue down the one before them. And so I wonder, like, what they were looking at in this scene. I mean, Sasha's drooling, so I'm guessing it's food, right? Like, this guy, I'm pretty sure that this is the pilot. Again, I'm not really sure, but I'm pretty sure that this is the pilot, so I wonder what that's all about. So I feel like that this is really cool. Like, Hange being impressed by some new technology, and then we see the gun range now. I'm not sure exactly about this flashback. At first I thought that they were training Gabi. Like, at first I thought this was Gabi shooting, but it doesn't seem to be. Maybe it is, but no, they look younger here, and I'm not entirely sure who that is. I think I forgot. I think that this is Gabi, though. So I feel like that maybe there's some sort of, like, foreshadowing that they'll train her, but I'm not really sure. I'm not sure who this character is exactly. I'm a little confused about that because Mikasa and Armin do look older, but they don't look as though they do now. So I feel like that this must be in the flashback sequence, but I cannot wait for it. I can't wait to see how my Zeke theory actually plays out. I'm super excited for next week. I hope that you guys enjoyed my discussion and analysis and my reaction. Of course, remember to subscribe if you haven't already and check out the Patreon and all of that stuff if you want to support the channel. But yeah, that is all from me, guys, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.